Pentagon's out this morning with a brand new list of what it's calling critical technology areas. Our Deirdre Bosa talked exclusively with DoD Undersecretary Michael and brings us more in today's Tech Check. Morning, Dee.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So these CTAs, or focus areas, they're basically the Pentagon's roadmap for what matters most in defense innovation right now. They set the direction for everything from DARPA to university research. Now, Emil Michael, he says this is all about speed and focus in today's environment.
Well, obviously you have in China, a country that has invested more in their defense industry than any country has since World War II. So that changes the environment fairly dramatically from just 10 years ago. And I think we also have the kind of the Ukraine-Russia war, which has changed sort of how people think about drones and autonomous. And you have the rise of AI. All three of those things have dramatically changed in the last several years, which make us have to look at our technology portfolio and say, are we right-sized for that threat environment that we have today?
So that leaves room, Michael says, for new defense contractors. Look at this data from PitchBook. It shows that this year is on track to be the biggest since 2021 for defense startups in terms of deal value. And of course, you got Palantir, the poster child in public markets. It's nearly doubled in value this year. Have a listen.
After the Cold War, we had about 50 defense contractors. Now we're down to about 5 or 6. So there's room for new entrants to really serve the department in multiple ways. And I think that's what you're seeing with Anduril, Palantir, SpaceX, and hopefully 4 or 5 more companies that come in and serve departments. We have a competitive environment, new technologies.
So these new priorities, they are going to impact how defense dollars flow. For investors, it points to a broader opening in the defense tech trade, signals where private capital should go next. And guys, I'm sure you remember Emil Michael from the Uber days. He was the deal maker. So perhaps we see more deals, more technology deals with him at the DoD.
And I do wonder also if you start to get into the conversation about government taking stakes in companies that they deem critical, right, for national security and strategy, if that takes us into defense.
Right, a la Intel, right? The government taking a stake in Intel because chip making is such a critical strategic area. We talked about China and the race and how they're doing things differently in terms of open source and taking stakes in their own homegrown companies. He says that we're still ahead of China, and he wants American innovation to flourish in the private market, but that these new sort of critical technology areas or focus areas are really key to make sure that China doesn't actually pull ahead.
Yeah, in the meantime, you've got other countries like Germany and Europe and even now Japan with this remarkable dust-up with China also trying to do the same thing and make sure that China, even if they're not in as a competitive race as we are, certainly that they keep China's would-be dominance in some kind of check.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talked a lot about the proliferation of open source models and how that used to be Meta and Llama, right, was sort of the leader of the pack a few years ago, but how it's fallen off to these Chinese models. And that's part of this equation as well, is that you can sort of distill a lot of technology around the world depending on what model companies and developers are working on. So he said that, you know, it's important. I also asked him about the export ban of GPUs. He said that it was appropriate to not give China our most advanced technology, but it's sort of his view that they will continue to innovate and build up homegrown companies like Huawei that are getting closer to building competitive chips and infrastructure.
Okay, Deirdre, great to hear from him. Thank you very much.